Hello, we're up for part 10A. I think this will be pretty short, just to sort of add on to the previous video. So this is our book, it's dried. Once it's dried, what I do then is just ease this fold line up on both sides, the front and the back. The reason I dry it flat is because I think you get a better, for me, you get a better finish on the outside, and it's not so stiff for opening it. If you dry it closed, the book is a bit tighter because this is hard to explain, but this wants to pull back a little bit as you open up, and obviously it can't do that because you've glued it really firmly. So what it wants to do now is go that way. It can't do that, so you do end up with a little ridge down here, which doesn't bother me. It would be one way or the other. You will still get a little bit of buckling on the fold line, but again, that doesn't bother me. And this is a very simple, straightforward journal. I mean, ways to avoid this are, you know, using through separate fronts to the back. We did this all in one piece to make everything as easy as possible. So that's where we're at with the unstitched one, and obviously I've done the others as well. I've actually done all of them. We've now got 5. So this is our prototype. And the other thing I like to do before I think about the front cover, because that's going to be our next job, is I like to fill in this square or oblong here, which probably is a bit pedantic, but to me it gives an overall better finish, and it just stiffens up the front cover a little bit, which I prefer. So I just cut 2 pieces. It's never going to be exact because you've got fabric around it, but I cut, measure the size here. Mine is, I think it's 3.5 by 6.5. And what I'm going to glue, I'm not going to do this on camera, but what I'm going to do is go back to my wet glue, my Aliens Tacky glue, and I'm going to glue this in with wet glue. And that means that the same amount of moisture that I put on this side when I put the cover on will now be on this section here. So it will counteract any warping, and we should, and we've got a nice cover anyway, but we should get a nice firm straight cover. So I've got one for the front and one for the back, so I'm going to glue those in off camera, and I should do that for each of these journals. And then at this point I start to think about the front cover. And the reason I start to think about the front cover is because if I put any attachments on the front that I want to use brads or even stitch on, possibly, although obviously now it's put together that is a little trickier, but it can be done, or hand stitching or buttons or anything like that, I would like to do that before I put my final piece of either fabric or card on here, because we are going to cover oh, excuse me, we are going to cover this whole thing up with a piece of, as I say, either fabric or card to neaten it all up. So when I'm thinking about the front cover, I'm starting from scratch with these really, and my main decision I think with these journals is whether to use a picture on the front, and I would probably go for something floral because they're all quite botanical, or to use, I mean I might use both, but to use a book plate and an image. This one, for example, probably will just have a book plate on it because it's such a nice image on the front there anyway, and the same with the bird one. Again, that might be, I might just decide to do a book plate on there, possibly one up here. One of these Tim Holtz ones might go on there. I think for this one, this one and possibly that one, I will look for an image. Again, it's something that I take a long time to sort out. So I'm going to go away, glue in my bits of card on all of them, and have a think about what I want to put on the front, and then I'll come back and we'll start to probably do that front image and neaten off the insides before we finish decorating the pages. Thank you. Bye bye.